Welcome back. My name's Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. Welcome to lesson 24 from Learn to Play the Piano book 3. This is a follow-on series from my Learn to Play the Piano books 1 and book 2. What's new for book 3 is that it actually comes available with a song book 3 as well. Now, song book 3 is full of 10 pieces which have some classical, well-known classical pieces in and some original pieces in, and basically they are all the kind of additional pieces that go hand in hand with everything that you've learned in book 3. So the links of where you can buy these books will be coming up just above my head here, or I'll put a direct link in the description bar underneath this video. These books are a 100% downloadable book, which means that you can buy and print them out wherever you are in the world. These are just copies that I have printed out on my home printer, and I've just bound them up myself for the purpose of this video. So let's get on with the lesson. So before I go on to lesson 24, I just want to quickly point out that the music you see here is blurred in the video. That's just to protect the copyright of this book. When you buy and download your copy of this book, you'll get a perfect edition. So lesson 24, reading music, the ledger lines. So you will at times get notes that fall outside of the lines and the spaces, the every good boy deserves football and the all cows eat grass and that kind of thing. You'll get notes that go above or below those 5 lines, or the stave or the staff that we have. Now, the first example that you would have seen on that would have been book 1, and that would have been middle C. And the treble clef middle C sits at the bottom of the 5 lines with its own little extra ledger line, and then in the bass clef middle C sits at the top of those 5 lines, again on its own little ledger line. So they are the same note, but they're just obviously differently placed on the stave depending on whether we're in the treble or the bass clef. So basically just notes that fall out of the ledger line. Moving on to page 9, you just treat exactly the same as you would if you were just counting up or climbing a ladder, so to speak. Just going briefly back to page 6, you'll see on this little example below here, going back to page 8, you'll see on this little sample here that you've got E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So what I've done here is I've started with the bottom line, and we've got an E on there. The next note in a space is F, that would be face. The next note is a line, which would be good. The next note is a space, which would be A, so on and so on. So this is where we mix our every good boy deserves football, because the notes go up alphabetically in line, space, line, space, line, space, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so on. So bearing that in mind, when you come to notes that are outside, you just simply count them up using your line and space. You mustn't jump. So I've got a few examples that we've written here. Again, I know it's blurred, but when you get your copy, you'll be able to see perfectly what I'm talking about. So if you look at we've got a treble clef here. If you look at this little note here, this little tiny F, that's at the top of the line, every good boy deserves football. Now the note that sits just above that in the space, which is the next line, space, the next little bit up from that, is going to give you a G, because G comes after F in the alphabet. For example, if we've got this note up here, which is sitting on 2 ledger lines, I mean, how are we going to work out what that is? Well, go to the top line that we know. You don't have to count from the bottom, you can, but it's just every good boy. You know the top one is football by now. So F is on a line, G, that would be in the space above it, A would be on the line above that, B would be in the space above that, and then on the second ledger line that we've got here brings us to a C. So there is more information on here. It does tell you, see if you can work out what this one is. It does tell you those answers at the back of the book on page 31. I mean, that's pretty much it. They're really not complicated. It's just a case of counting up line, space, line, space, line, space, as if you would climb a ladder. If you were climbing up the ladder on the side of a house, for example, you wouldn't just suddenly skip 3 ladder rungs. It would just be impossible to do. So you put your foot in a space and then you climb up to the next rung, foot in a space, climb up to the next rung, foot in a space, climb up to the next rung. And this is exactly the same thing. If you're going down lower, then the alphabet is just going backwards. So it's a little bit more confusing, but I mean, you just have to work it out backwards. So where we've got middle C at the bottom here, which is on a line, the note above middle C, which would be in a space in between the line that middle C sits on and the bottom line of the actual stave, is going to be a D. And then the next note up from D, which is on a line, which is the bottom note, bottom line of the stave, sorry, is going to give you an E. So it looks quite complicated, but when you break it down, it isn't actually all that complicated. So that's pretty much it with the ledger lines and lesson 24. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Don't forget that the links of where to buy Learn to Play the Piano Book 3 and the Songbook 3 will both be linked directly underneath this video. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson.